This episode of About 30 Minutes is brought to you by First Federal Community Bank. First Federal Community Bank has been serving Northeast Ohio since 1898. With 8 locations in the area, we're always nearby. Whether you are opening your first checking account, planning for retirement, or starting your own business, First Federal offers the modern convenience you expect and the personal service you deserve. Hi, everybody. I'm Chad Shoemaker, and you have tuned in to another episode of About 30 Minutes, the podcast that takes place here in Tuscarawas County. And today we have a very charming guest with us. We have Miss Marita Turnabeni, and I said it right.
You did?
I did. So that name may sound familiar to you if you are a resident of Tuscarawas County, especially in the Dover area, from the famous drive-through, and of course, the Brooklyn Grill,
yes.
Which just,
Turnabeni's Brooklyn Grill, yes.
Fantastic. Now you're with us here today, returning to Tuscarawas County. So you're coming back from New York City.
Yeah.
Why'd you come back here?
I get that question a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite been back a year.
Mm-hmm.
I moved, it would have been 11 years ago. So I made the 10-year mark, which made me a true New Yorker. You have to be there for 10 years to get that status. But what brought me back was family.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a point in my life where I was, ready for a change. I was ready to kind of settle down and leave the big city life behind, and want to be able to have the opportunities I had growing up. So I'm looking forward to maybe probably starting a family and that sort of thing. And
sure.
But mainly it was family that brought me back. I wanted to be closer. You don't realize how much you miss out on until you're realizing, well, I'm missing out on Sunday dinners and I'm missing out on birthdays and stuff while you're gone.
Those wonderful little kind of small town things. And you know what? It's not even necessarily small town. It's just that separation.
Yeah, 100%.
So now let's backtrack a little bit here. You are originally from Tuscarawas County, specifically
New Philly.
New Philadelphia.
Yep, grew up in New Philly.
And you are you said 2007 graduate of Tuscarawas County Central Catholic.
Yes.
Or Tuscarawas Central Catholic. There we go. Okay.
Yes.
What did you do there? What did you do in high school that eventually got you into New York City?
So my background is all in singing, acting, theater.
Mm-hmm.
My first production was in preschool. We did a production of the alphabet, and I played the letter P. And I was told I was the best letter P they had ever had. And then kind of started off doing stuff at Little Theater at their children's workshops, and was very lucky and extremely blessed to have had Rich Dragunic as a teacher at Central Catholic.
Okay.
And he was my drama teacher.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a couple of the monologues he taught me in high school are what I used to get into the theater schools that I went to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like he really was probably one of the best teachers I've ever had.
Was this your decision to go to, because you went to Kent State first, and then did I see Stark State?
No, I went to Ashland University
first,
yes, and then I went to Kent State. I really loved being a student.
It's fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. You definitely learn a lot.
Yes.
Ashland University for my bachelor's in music education, and then Kent State offered, I'm not sure if they still do, but they offered this certificate program for folks who were kind of deciding, like, do I want to get my master's? I've got my bachelor's. What do I want to do next? And it was an opera certificate program. And I did that for a year. And then literally 6 weeks later, moved to New York and went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. It's a conservatory in New York.
Right. Now, what, obviously theater, but what was there a specialty of yours? That
Opera.
Okay.
Yeah, I started studying opera with Melanie Wynn. Yeah, when I was in high school, started voice lessons, and she was like, "You could be an opera singer, or what do you want to do here?" And I was like, "Well, that sounds cool. Let's do that." And then that's what I did and studied that. I was lucky to have a teacher at AMDA. She was like the opera guru, and she had won the Metropolitan Opera Award, which is like winning an Oscar in opera.
Yeah.
And studied with her, and then graduated, and 2 weeks after graduation made my off-Broadway debut in a tiny little company and stuff, but it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
I'm sure that has to be. I mean, that's one of those things that, I mean, really, how small town, big time dream can you get?
Yeah.
You just, well, I'm gonna get out of town. Don't tell me you took a bus.
No.
Okay.
We drove.
So you go and next thing you know, you're in off-Broadway productions. Any shows that of mention?
No, it was the one I did was with this theater company that actually it's no longer. I don't think it's in existence anymore, but it was called Musicals. Was it Musicals Tonight? But they did like Golden Age Broadway shows that didn't make it. And then revived them. So
okay.
it was like ones that maybe ran for 30 days or something, and
right.
we're just, and so then they were doing the revivals of them. So it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of people doing it.
Oh wow.
I did the girl who came to supper or dinner or something like that. And luckily, the director reached out to me. I remember graduating from AMDA. My goal was to have had something booked at graduation, and I had nothing booked. And I remember sitting there in graduation being like, I'm really letting my younger self down right now. And then I was at my survival job. And
I've never heard that term used before.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
my
the job.
Survival
It's
job.
It's the job that pays the rent. And I was sitting there at my desk Monday morning, graduated the day before, and I was like, cool, this is where I'm at. And literally after that thought went out of my head, I got a bing, and it was an email being like, hey, Marita, did you book anything? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's up? What's going on? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just here sitting at my desk job. And he was like, what are you doing for the next so many weeks? And I'm like, sitting here at my desk job. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try to get some auditions in. And he was like, can you call me? And so I called, and he was like, I'm offering you this role. I need someone to be able to sing these notes in particular. I had to kind of go into the stratosphere, and he knew I could do it from being a professor of mine. And that's how I booked it. Like, it was just like that. And I went, okay, well, I didn't have it booked at graduation, but it was like less than 24 hours later. So I'm gonna count that as a win.
I would say, I mean, definitely. Now, so I'm trying to wrap my brain around a company that produces musicals that didn't make it back in that golden age. I mean, that's really something.
It was a very cool company. They did a lot of stuff.
Was the show done in the style of the time, like clothing wise, set wise, that kind of stuff too?
It was very low budget. When he was doing stuff, we held our scripts on hand because it was like they were just putting out shows so quickly that it was like, okay, you rehearsed for so long, and then you were doing 8 shows a week for a couple of weeks, and then they moved on to the next show. So for the show that I did with them, it was a very quick turnaround. I remember I was actually carrying a ball gown on the subway with me, and I had several people who I think were visiting New York City being like, congratulations on your wedding. And I was like, no, it's a costume. I'm just carrying a costume. Because it was in I think it was even in a lavender bridal bag. Because it was a gown I had worn for some concerts and things. Yeah. So that's probably why they were like, hey, congratulations. But I was like, no, I'm not getting married. Just, going to rehearsal. So
any brushes with fame? Do you have any great New York, you're standing there and you look over and there's...
Yeah, a couple. One funny story was so when you're in New York, streets get shut down right and left sometimes, and you're just like, I just need to get on the subway. I just need to get home. You kind of ignore them. Maybe sometimes you shouldn't. This was one of those times where I probably shouldn't have, but I'm really glad I did. Because I accidentally walked on the set of the new Ghostbusters movie. And I was like, why is there steam and fog? What is going on? And there was stuff around. And then I looked over my shoulder, and there's the Ghostbuster car. And then walking towards me is this very tiny little woman. And it was Kristen Wiig. And I was like, I am definitely not where I'm supposed to be. So I darted down the steps of the subway station and left there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's up there with being an extra in Ocean's 8.
Okay. Yeah. That was the all-female cast one, wasn't it?
It was the all-female. Yes, it was very, very cool. I like to joke that I've been to the Met Gala, even though I haven't. But I was in that all that scene and everything for weeks. We shot that scene for weeks.
Wow. That's great. So, man, would we be able to look you up on IMDb?
No, because I like to say like I did it, but you will not see me in it because all of our stuff actually got cut. Because that's how it always happens.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I'm like I could show you like my badge and everything I got to keep from set. But they did. They cut all of our stuff. There was a group of us girls who were Vogue employees, and we were Sarah Paulson's, team of people running the Met Gala for her.
Okay.
But we were there. We were there for weeks at the Met filming.
Oh my gosh.
We would be showing up around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to get into hair and makeup, and then you would shoot all night and get home around 6, try to sleep, and then get up for your call sheet and time, and then go back at it.
And I know that the great myth is the glamour of it all, because there's a lot of standing around and waiting.
There is. Mm-hmm.
Hurry up and wait,
Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
My gosh.
It is.
My gosh.
Try to catch some Z's in there in between takes and stuff, but you can't, because it's just there's chaos going on all around you, and people coming up to you being like, oh, we need to try these shoes on you now because so-and-so said you're too tall, or like, hey, can you step over here? We actually need to change like your whole lipstick look and all of that. Like the glamour that you see on TV it takes a lot of work for it to get to that point.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. So then you come back here.
When you come back here. Yeah.
And now that you're back, where is life taking you? What are you doing here in Tuscarawas County to share your gifts?
I am very blessed and to be teaching private voice students right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also the director of music at Sacred Heart Church.
Oh, okay.
The
Very
church I
good.
grew up in. Things that I was kind of dreaming about as a kid to be able to do, and making those now come true is really, really cool. What
was the reception like when you came back and went to those places for the first time? You'd been gone for a while, and all of a sudden here you are, and you're here to teach, and to share your experiences and your knowledge.
Yeah, it all came out of nowhere, to be honest. I was kind of settling in, going, all right, great, now what? And had just been having a conversation with Father Jeff, who's the priest at Sacred Heart. And I mentioned, like, hey, like, I noticed there's not a children's choir anymore. Would love to, like, volunteer to get the kiddos involved again. My mom had done it for years and years and years. And it kind of fell to the wayside due to COVID, and was like, hey, I'm back. Would love something extra to do. And he looked at me and he goes, great. Yeah, like, I think you could totally do that. And he's like, so what are you doing Saturday morning? And I was like, well, nothing. Why? And he's like, come back. We need to talk about your compensation, your benefits package. And he starts looking at me down. I was like, no. Like, I know this is a volunteer position. He goes, no. You're the new director of music. And then he just beelined it away from me. And I was like standing there like, wait, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, am I getting punked? Like, this is like, I didn't interview, didn't anything. That's just how it happened. And in that process of taking over, because I've only been in that role now about 4 months or so.
Okay.
And I've had people approach and be like, hey, while you're back, are you going to start teaching? Are you going to do that? So that also kind of fell in my lap. Again, something that I've done off and on, but have opened up a voice studio and teaching some people how to sing and how to, if anything from the basics to folks who have been singing their whole lives.
So any age?
Yeah, any age. My youngest student is 9, and I think my oldest is around 75.
Wow. Wow. Rewarding?
So much. It's so cool. It's so much fun to like watch somebody do it and then things start to click. It's the most rewarding, especially just being back in the area that raised me, and especially the church that I grew up singing in, and where I found my love of music. To be able to come back and do that, it's a really, really cool full circle moment. It really is.
That's pretty incredible. So one of the questions we usually ask our guests is, we've had people come through here that a variety of jobs. I mean, all different types of things that people have done. And we always ask, if I would want to pursue that career in the performing arts, whether that be acting or singing or dancing or whatever. How do you, in a small town in Ohio, how do you go about that? What's the best way to do it?
I don't know if there is I don't know. That's a hard question. There really is. You got me stumped. For me, the first thing that I think of is the support.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot even begin to explain how blessed I was growing up. Mm-hmm. Having parents who were like, cool, this is what you're good at, then let's foster that.
That's very important.
Let's help you with this. Because sports was not my thing. It was my siblings' thing. And my family was so supportive and treated my performances like they were treating my siblings and cousins going off to their sporting events. My grandparents showed up for that.
And for better, and honestly, not to interrupt, but for better or for worse, here in Tuscarawas County, sports is a big thing.
It is.
And I mean, it gets a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. It gets a lot of, especially if you're talking in the education field, it gets a lot of money thrown at it, and it gets a lot of public support.
Yeah.
But it's the arts that, when you start getting your budget cuts, when you start getting your, the things that are surrendered for the almighty state testing and things like that, those are the things that get bumped.
They do.
That's not fair. That's very, I was in the business, so I know. I know.
And that affected me too. Like, I was lucky in elementary school. I had an amazing music teacher, Beth Fergoss, and she really saw that I loved this and could do this. And she was also the director of music at Sacred Heart too. And she let me sing at church. She was letting me do all these extra things. And I had these teachers that were kind of placed in my life. It was Beth, it was Melanie Wynn, who was my first voice teacher, who looked at me and was like, you could study opera. And she was my voice teacher. Then during the summers when I would come home from school, Rich Dagunik being like, hey kid, you got something here. And, he really nurtured that. So I had these, almost like angels in my life that were like, if this is something you want to do, we believe in you. And that was the biggest thing, is like having somebody say, you can do this, I believe in you. Yeah. That was winning the lottery.
It's crucial. And, again, having been in the education business, there's 15 years between you and I graduating school. Okay. That was 2007, 1992. Things changed so much. And now here we are in 2024. And sadly, I can say that, in those last few years that I was in the business, that parental support, especially if you were not one of the, and this is not slinging mud or anything like that, if you were one of those sports kids, the support seems to be there quite a bit. But for some of these other kids, your artists, your band members, your choir members and stuff like that, it's not always there as much, even at home.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And the kids that aren't involved in anything, and need something to be attached to, that's difficult. To not have somebody in your corner saying, you can do this, or you should try this. 100%. That's a big one.
It's huge because I think too, there's so much more than just being the person on stage. There's so much more than just being a member of the choir or a soloist. There takes literally a team of people to get shows off the ground. And I think it's important for anybody who's wanting to be in the arts in any way, shape, or form to know that there's other job opportunities than being right up in front. You have to have lighting, costumes. Some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life have been costume designers and stuff like that. Playing in the pit, playing for auditions, ticket sales, marketing. There's so many job opportunities in the arts that aren't just, all right, I'm here for my close-up, let's do it. Put me front and center. That's more of a me type of person. Yes. But I know so many folks who were in those other jobs, and those jobs are
the behind the scenes.
Are not if sometimes more important, because I have had stage managers who were absolutely phenomenal and would, if anything was wrong, you showed up, your boyfriend broke up with you before a show or something, that's happened, that was awful. Or, having, your tights aren't in the place you need, they just knew and were on it and top of it, being okay, let's dry the tears, okay, go out, you've got this, those are the people those are the backbone of the shows. Those are the backbones of the performances, or the people who are behind the scenes.
Right.
And it's important for kids to know you can do that. That's an opportunity for you.
Yeah. Do you find yourself, I mean, I think this is an obvious question though. Do you find yourself when you're working with kids at your church, or even with your students, regardless of what age they may be, do you find yourself promoting and pushing the arts to them? Do you this is something that you really, obviously you're very passionate about.
Oh, 100%. Because, you can play football up to a certain age, and then, but you can sing your whole life. You can act your whole life.
Very true.
There's always something there for you. I think the arts can feed a part of your soul and touch a part of your soul that, other things in the world can't. And the world can be a big, scary place, but the arts do kind of bring you back into something that's like pure and beautiful and just very soothing. And I'm trying to think of the right thing to say. Just really can like heal the soul is what I'm trying to say. I remember years ago, I gave a concert at Sacred Heart. I was trying to help raise money for this new organ we were having put in. And I will never forget this for as long as I live, because there have been times in my life where I've like gone, you know what, maybe it's time to hang up my hat and move on. I've been performing since a little age. Maybe it's time to retire and find something else. You do like a receiving line after concerts. And this older woman waited literally until the church lights had gone off, and she had waited for everybody to kind of go through this receiving line. And she came up to me, and she was from Poland, and I'm going to try not to cry. She survived World War II in Poland and grew up as a little girl in World War II.
Okay.
And I sang some arias from a couple of operas, and she was like, it took me back home. And she goes, it took me back to a time where there were people performing on the streets to get money to give to us kids for bread. And that's why you do it.
Yeah.
You're able to like really touch people and take them back to a place that they might not be able to go back to.
Right.
And that's what music does. It's really, really important.
That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty great story. If you had the opportunity to do any show, whether it would be on a Broadway stage or back in Little Theater, one show that's kind of like on your bucket list, what would that be?
Oh gosh. I would love to do Mary Poppins.
Oh, okay.
I would love to be Mary Poppins. She flies around. She has the umbrella. She's just a cool chick. Like, I would love to be Mary Poppins. And I think part of it is because my niece Callie loves the show so much. And, like, she is obsessed with Mary Poppins. Like, she had an American Girl doll dressed up as Mary Poppins.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
So I think, like, that connection, too, to, like, get more points of being the cool aunt would also be in there. But I think, yeah, for sure, like, Mary Poppins or Maria from Sound of Music.
Oh,
yeah,
my.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
See, now this is what my wife is. She loves Broadway. She loves musicals and things like that. And, I know she's a fan of Julie Andrews, and she loves Mary Poppins. And the one that it always makes me laugh, she said, I love the Sound of Music, but then when the nun starts to sing Climb Every Mountain, she goes, I just want to get up and leave. And I'm like, wow. And so now she didn't grow up Catholic, I can tell you that.
Okay. I get it. Because like you're kind of like, because it does kind of come out of nowhere sometimes in the show. So I understand. You're kind of like, okay, get back to it. Like, is she going to go back to the captain? Is she staying here? Like, I get it.
So, wow. I mean, now, have you decided, thinking about, with Little Theater, and of course we have the Performing Arts Center here, have you been involved in any productions or anything since you've been back? Or are you looking to do that again?
I would love to. I haven't, because I've been back for such a short period of time. I've been trying to just get my feet under me and figure out what I'm doing again, because things have just been kind of coming at me right and left. When I moved back, if you would have told me that Father Jeff was going to be like, yeah, guess what? You're the new director of music, like that, without even interviewing, I probably would have looked at you like you were nuts. So there are things, like I have no idea, but I'm so open to it, and would love to be back in Little Theater. I mean, my mom and I, we went and saw Dear Ruth together because
Dear Ruth.
it was just the last show that Bart did.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember. Yes, I do.
We went because my dear friend Orvis was doing the last line. So I went and supported him. He's like, I'm making my stage debut. So I definitely had to go and support.
Sheriff Orvis Campbell?
Yes, Sheriff Orvis. Yep. So we went and he did a fabulous job.
Okay.
And as soon as we walked in, my mom looked at me. We're in the lobby. And she goes, it hasn't changed. I was like, it even smells the same. She goes, it does. I was like, she's like, it just brought back memories from my days there as a child. So, yeah.
How many shows did you do as a kid? And do you have one that was like locally there that was memorable? Like your most memorable?
My most memorable would probably be, we did Pinocchio, and I was the off-brand of Jiminy Cricket. I was like Crickety the Cricket or something. And
the off-brand.
I was green, and like the woman who did my makeup, and I can't think of her name, but I just adored her as a child, and she just would transform me into this. And I wanted a top hat, so they let me have a top hat. Like, it was the first time I felt like I actually had some creative freedom in figuring out what a role was and doing that. But yeah, like that, it probably was also one of my favorite roles I've ever done.
Okay. Did you get to sing When You Wish?
I didn't, because again, we
I
didn't
was going to say you didn't have a
we
license.
We didn't have a license. It was like made for kids and stuff like that, but we didn't have a license and stuff.
Okay.
Like, I think it was like that version. They didn't do anything like When You Wish Upon a Star. They did something called Hi Ho Pinocchio. I just that's all I remember is like singing this song throughout the whole show.
How old were you?
Gosh, not even 12 or so. Like, I was little. Mm-hmm.
Well, the one question that we always wrap with is, how do you live Tusk? How do you live Tuscarawas County?
Well, I will say, being in this business for as long as I have been, you have to have a tough skin. And I preach that. You have to have a tough skin, because you will have people ripping you apart right and left. You will be told a million times, and then on the 1,000,001 time, you'll get a yes. But what they don't tell you is you also have to have a softness. Because if you don't have a softness, you're going to lose the ability to actually perform. You won't have your heart in it.
Right.
And for me, growing up in an area that was so supportive of me gave me my heart. And I took that with me to New York. I took that. I still take it with me everywhere. That being respectful to everyone, you treat everybody the same, whether they are the director and producer of the show or they are just, somebody who is handing out programs or something. They're just as important. And I learned that growing up here. I learned my softness. That's what I took with me.
That's
fantastic.
How I live.
Yeah.
Excellent answer. Very good. That might be one of the best answers
we've had.
Thanks. Very good. So, well, Marita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So, we're always looking for those interesting stories, but also, to show that just because you're here in Tuscarawas County doesn't mean that, it's nowhere. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. And the fact that you did those things and then said, you know what, it's time to come back.
It is.
And then share that knowledge.
You can have wings and roots. Yep.
There we go.
You can have wings and roots. Yep.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us again for about 30 minutes, and we'll catch you next time. This episode of About 30 Minutes was brought to you by First Federal Community Bank. First Federal Community Bank has been serving Northeast Ohio since 1898. With 8 locations in the area, we're always nearby. Whether you are opening your first checking account, planning for retirement, or starting your own business, First Federal offers the modern convenience you expect and the personal service you deserve. Live Tusk strives to create a community of young adults living and or working in Tuscarawas County, Ohio, by assisting opportunities for social interaction and networking. We provide an awareness about the resources, activities, events, art, outdoor rec, education, and career opportunities in Tuscarawas County to encourage positive engagement about the quality of life in this area. We believe in a future where our community is a beacon of opportunity, known for its strong sense of belonging and exceptional quality of life. Our City Productions is a one-stop shop for professional quality and affordable video production, photography, social media management, and video conversion and archiving. Be sure to visit us at ourcityproductions.com and follow us on Facebook.